Can it be defined as autocratic democracy?
Well, some would say it's one way. We use all sorts of descriptions. Some will call it anarchic. And worst of all, it is not even libertarian.
Perhaps that's what Obasanjo is saying we should change.
Change what?
That this system is not working.
Well, that the system is not working is no news. It doesn't. Nobody needs to be a rocket scientist to know that the system is not working. Not, in fact, the system is not working. Even the whole state is decomposing. The context of the electoral process, the context of the democratic process is within the context of a decomposing state.
You agree that the character of leadership at any time is the character of the state? Do you agree with that concept?
The character of the leadership gives you a sense of where the polity should be moving. And to a certain extent, if the people do not see the leadership as legitimate, then there might at some point be a resistance to the direction in which the leadership is taking the state. So it is very important that there is a high perception of the legitimacy of the system. For example, is the Nigerian state establishment legitimate?
Is it not?
It's a question I'm throwing, because if you look at everything happening around you, both in the legislature and all the doubts raised about the judiciary, and then the executive doesn't have much legitimacy on its side, do you have a legitimate system? And I've just used a word now to describe the system. I say it is decomposing or decomposed.
When you say system is decomposing, what are you trying to explain?
It is getting fragilized every time as a result of the collapse of the structures and institutions of governance.
So when you say structures, can you hit the nail on the head? Police, institutions, INEC,
look,
the courts.
I said it's system, everything. That is why I said it is decomposing.
So decomposing can mean they are failing.
Now, if you allow me, let me just read one prominent attorney said about Nigeria. This is by J.S. Okutepa, senior advocate of Nigeria. Nobody respects the laws of Nigeria. Judges don't. Police don't. Lawyers don't. Politicians don't. Citizens don't. Why? Because there are no consequences. Those who fear the laws are the downtrodden, who have no godfathers. That is why stealing a goat is more dangerous than stealing billions. Nigeria is a country of absurdities. That is a Nigerian lawyer last week, a Nigerian attorney last week. And I think the evidence is out there for everyone to see.
Democracy can also be connected to the agents of socialization in a society. You know, the family, the church, the mosque, educational institutions. These agents of society, how would you assess them in contemporary times?
Unfortunately, when we say the system is decomposed, it implies all these institutions are decomposed. Take your church. The church is supposed to advance you spiritually. But what have churches become? Business centers. Everybody sets up a church to make some money and buy a jet or buy a luxury car. That is what it is. And then in the families too, the tragedy is that under the weight of the rottenness of the society, the family system is bulging. And I don't want to go into some of the horrendous details of that. I don't want to. I do know that quite a lot of people are concerned about the moral standing of the Nigerian community, of the Nigerian society. There's no morality, because morality has been devalued, debased, especially by those who have power, the leadership. That's just the point. So when we are talking about, actually when we talk about democracy, it is like being atomistic, deconstructing a system and taking one element. The whole system has been fragilized. That's just the point.
How does the recent emergency declaration in Rivers State come into this definition of a decomposing state?
It is tragic that under a democratic dispensation, the central government will be in a hurry to declare a state of emergency. Some challenge the validity of the proclamation of the president. But more importantly, whether it is valid or not valid, observe that the man, the Ibas is his name, right? Who was appointed the new sole administrator of Rivers State, is a former military commander. So what are we saying? So in effect, we are accepting the failure of the democratic institutions of civilian interactions to resolve what essentially is a political problem, and we have to bring in a military man, an ex-military man, to begin to do what? Dismantle. Because right now, by yesterday, the man has sacked all the special assistants, political special assistants. And the government, the federal government, has been forced to make pronouncement, no, we are not removing him from, he's still the governor. So where are we? Confusion.
State Affairs with Edmund Obilo is live.
Professor Ademola Araoye talking about a decomposing state. See, the decomposition of the state is always a gradual thing. It gets to a point, it boils over. Nobody stops it from boiling over. It gets to a point in every country, it will boil over. An example of state decomposition, it is a scene in this book, Judicial Terrorism, a macabre trial and death sentences on Major General Zamani Lekwot and 5 others on the Zongo-Katav crisis. If you want to study state decomposition, read this book, Judicial Terrorism, a macabre trial and death sentences on Major General Zamani Lekwot and 5 others on the Zongo-Katav crisis. If you read this book, you will see state decomposition in action. It's a book written by Richard Akinola. You see, what happens when the gavel of justice becomes a weapon of terror? Do you know what happens? You want to help me? I'll leave you with that question again. What happens when the gavel of justice becomes a weapon of terror? Anyway, who would say I did not speak when I saw the wind? So in this book that I'm talking about, Judicial Terrorism, the courtroom is not a sanctuary of fairness. It becomes a theater of cruelty. That is what this book is talking about. I describe this book as an explosive book because it lays bare the haunting story of Major General Zamani Lekwot, a decorated military officer who stood not just trial but persecution before a tribunal that seemed determined to extinguish his voice and his life. More than a retelling of a trial, the book, Judicial Terrorism, is a sobering exploration of how the law can be twisted into a tool for political vendetta. And as I speak, Nigeria has moved to a heightened state of such system. Through General Lekwot's own chilling testimony, his dignity in the face of institutional betrayal, the reader, that is you, will be drawn into a harrowing experience that forces difficult but necessary questions. So if you read this book like I have done, you are likely to raise these questions. 1. What happens when a judge becomes an executioner in spirit? 2. Can any citizen feel safe when the courts serve power rather than justice? 3. How do we guard the integrity of justice in a system rigged for silence and submission? If you read this book, you will come away with these following values or instinct, as the case may be. You have a deeper understanding of the Zango-Qatar crisis and its hidden dimensions, and bringing back that crisis as an example of state decomposition. If you read this book, Judicial Terrorism, you will have a front row seat in a courtroom where the outcome seems predetermined, no matter the defense. If you look at what is happening to political parties in Nigeria now, except APC, you will know there is an orchestrated plan to destroy them. And that is one of the biggest threats to Nigerian democracy at the moment. There is a clear plan to destroy every other political party. And that plan is getting more intense by the day. If you read this book, you will have a renewed appreciation for the importance of judicial independence and the catastrophic cost when it fails. If you read this book, you will have an emotional and intellectual connection with one man's quiet defiance against judicial tyranny. You see, General Leckwart's haunting words in court is worth quoting here. He tells the judge, "Obeying orders has been my professional duty for years, but I cannot, as a layman, without knowing the legal implication, start taking decisions." You see, he made that statement after accusing the judge of bias. Why I love the book is not just the description of the author. It's like the author went into the archives, got all the documents and put them here for you to see, for you to read. Judicial terrorism. Some of these issues raised in the book force us to confront the uncomfortable truth. Justice can be weaponized, and its victims can be our nation's sons and daughters. Remember, in Nigeria today, it is more dangerous to steal a loaf of bread than to steal billions. If you want to go to prison, steal a loaf of bread. If you want to be celebrated, steal billions. Such a country is moving towards anarchy. It can be delayed, but it will come if the peoples don't wake up and say, no, we have to stop it. It is more dangerous in Nigeria to steal a loaf of bread or to steal a cock. Steal billions and be celebrated, and you become governor and senator. Such a country is moving towards chaos. In such a country, bandits will take over the forest. Soon, they will come to land. Watch out. It is Plateau crying. It is Benue crying. Zamfara is crying. It will go round. We will all cry. We will cry if we don't stop. It is the law. The character of the state determines the chaos of that state. It's not about prayers. It will get to the church. A relation called me yesterday saying they've abandoned their village in Igbo land, that she was on the run, that people were attacked in the middle of the night. She sounded so desperate. She saw blood. She was crying on the phone. She doesn't know where to run to. She wants succor. It's not just her. It is happening around the country. If you care about justice, if you value human dignity, if you want to understand Nigeria's fragile democracy, this book, Judicial Terrorism, is for you. If you are interested in a copy, you can order it through my WhatsApp number, 080 999 18449. If you are interested in a copy, order it through my WhatsApp number, 080 999 18449. You can also get it. Order it on udarabooks.com. udarabooks.com. The program is State Affairs on Splash 105.5 FM, the Integrity Station. Stay tuned. The Radio Man is here.